And welcome to the East County Sports Report. I'm Ramon Scott, joined by Dave Dickens of EastCountySports.com. Dave, we're going to preview Week 8 of the prep football season as we inch closer to the Grossmont Hills League race. Christian opens up league play this week in the Eastern League. And, of course, we're going to talk about the red-hot Grossmont Valley League race. We brought Andrew Darrell on to join us and maybe talk about some of the Valley League teams and what's going on at Santana High, Dave. And we can maybe talk about a couple games from last week before we get rolling. What's going on?
Well, I'll tell you, the one game I think that stood out, and I think it changed the opinion of many people, many of the pollsters, as far as the CIF coaches, their ratings, and then your favorite computer rankings as well. I think El Cap did a number on some of those rankings, and they very well have just as good a chance as West Hills, I think, in my opinion, of taking that league personally. I mean, that play that they had against Santana last week. And I wanted to ask you, actually, some more about if anybody was able to get their metal detector out and find that, what was it, the golden golden whip, I believe.
Andrew, who was in charge of that trophy? We're not going to pin Andrew down on that. But looking back on it, apparently no one has seen it maybe in over 15 years. Andrew, have you ever seen the golden whip? It's I believe it's on a wood plaque, and maybe it's attached to the plaque, and it's kind of shaped like it's a horse's whip, right? But it might be looking kind of like a lasso too. I don't know.
I've never really seen it. The Mayor Cup, yes, I've seen many times. The Golden Whip, I have never seen the Golden Whip.
Well, Dave, Coach Berner said on his Facebook page, if anybody had a picture of the Golden Whip, maybe they have seen it and maybe just saw it once or twice, because it sounds like it might have even lost before these coaches came on board, even maybe before Coach Berner was at El Cap. So they were looking for a picture, and I did a little digging, but I didn't get to finish. I think I might have an idea, but I mean, there's some people around who've seen it, and maybe they'll recreate it, or maybe they'll just create a new one. But we know where that trophy is going to reside, and maybe it's going to be on Coach. I don't know who's going to pay for it.
Well, all I know is as I remember seeing that little excerpt, and I kind of searched myself, and I was hoping maybe even during the cast, maybe somebody will speak up and tell us where it's buried, or if it's one of those time capsules or something that they decided to put it somewhere halfway. Maybe it's under the 52. Who knows?
It might have coincided. It might have been in the Vaqueros' possession when they had some refurbishing, some remodeling or something of one of the buildings that maybe it was housed in. Maybe as far back as 2004 or 2005. So, like I said, I mean, it sounded as if, Coach Berner wanted to get it going, and that'd be great to have a perpetual trophy. I thought maybe a suggestion of a different trophy would be okay, but again, the Golden Whip, it harkens back to the equine history of this area. Before all this, housing and all that, it was a lot of farming, a lot of horses, and a high school out here as well.
That's why I mentioned maybe he got lost under the 52, because they sure took a lot of housing out with that sucker. But we also like the way we can get around town and how quickly we can get from El Capitan to West Hills or Santana now for a ball game. So it worked out in that sense, right?
Sure did.
And I'd like to talk about the rankings a little bit with you, Dave, as we get into it. Maybe Andrew can help me out with how football rankings work. Dave, Santana, despite losing that game 35-0, remained number 4 this week in the Division III CIF, the official CIF rankings. Santana remains number 4. El Capitan, I believe they were 7th last week. They remained 7th this week. So you know what they've said over at CIF, just wait, it'll shake it all out. But boy, if you can't gain on them after one game, when can we expect El Capitan to pass Santana? Granted, there's some other games that are going to shake down. Andrew mentioned the Mayor's Cup, and we've got big games in the Grossmont Valley League in the next couple of weeks, Dave. But right now, despite that loss, 35-0, and, like we said, computers don't know about injuries. Santana really is going to be an uphill climb the rest of the way. But Santana, they are 4th in Division III. El Cap is 7th. West Hills is 5th, by the way. The computer rankings, of course, have West Hills on top, followed by, I'm just talking about the Valley League teams right now, but West Hills followed by El Capitan and then Santana, which seems to be the correct order right now. But as of now, Division III, Santana still in line for that first round bye despite the loss.
Yeah, and I think that I think those injuries are going to be key. I don't want to touch on it too much before we get into it, but I think that also that could equate to a possible Monte Vista win, maybe their first win of the season. Unfortunately for the Sultans, with depending on how the quarterback situation shakes out, I mean, that's a pretty big hit. And Monte Vista, if you play a numbers game, they're due for a win. And we all know how they played against Santana, right, in the past, Andrew. They just did it a couple of times. Homecoming last time, and a real good Santana team out there. Not to say that take anything away from this team, but boy, there was an undefeated Santana team that went into Spring Valley and really took a lump on the head. So we got to be careful there.
Home, actually, we played them at home. I believe it was 35-0 at halftime. If I remember correctly, it was when they had that decent running back. I don't remember his
Jamal
name.
McClendon.
Yes.
Well, the reason I bring that up, guys, is I happened to be on campus with Coach Hamamoto this week, and he really shook me up to find out what the real story is on what's going on with his opponent. He's still sticking with his story. The numbers are down, and it's really been a struggle for the Monarchs. That pretty much sums that up real quickly. And then the other one that we were real surprised on, you mentioned doing a real quick wrap up, is Valhalla. Wow, taking one over Elkhorn Valley after Elkhorn Valley looked really well. They played a fantastic, almost an error-free game against Monte Vista on their field, putting up 41 points. And then look there, 41 points scored by the Norsemen over Elkhorn Valley.
Yeah, and for all the criticism that those computers get, they were pretty much right on that game. So
Ramon appreciates that computer. That's a little inside thing here for Andrew.
No, I think I try to recite them all. I try to give out the information about what each team has different. Like I'm trying to explain with these Division III rankings that there hasn't been a lot of talk this week, and I just thought this one kind of stood out like a sore thumb. So, and I mentioned that when teams do get that win, especially if they end up winning a league title, CIF can do a little switcheroo, but not if they're too far separated. Like I said, Santana's still number 4, and El Capitan is still number 7. So basically, the win didn't mean too much at all, I guess.
I don't grasp that. I probably won't grasp it by the time we're done with this cast either. But we'll move on. But I still don't understand how they can stay idle after, especially a shutout.
Yeah, well, El Capitan did gain some points, and Santana did lose some points. But on their little scale where you can get the maximum of 50. Usually the minimum of 44 in a matchup like that. There's just not enough separation like you can get with the fully algorithmic rankings. So, okay, Dave, we'll get into the Grossmont Valley League. I just thought maybe we should lead off the show with maybe I would think the marquee game of the week. I think I'll say that, but it's Christian because they're opening up Eastern League play against the Mira Mesa Marauders, and this is going to be a pretty solid ball game. Dave, you remember you saw the game last year. It was 8-8 at halftime. If I remember correctly, and I thought that one was at Mira Mesa too, and so is this one, right?
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was, and the only really not too much of a difference except for who was behind center. We didn't have a look at Jake Devla yet. We had Gabe Krug still heading the ship at that time, which come to find out later too had he was battling a lot of back issues. Even during that game and quite a few throughout the season. So for him to make it to where he's at now and get through that season, hey, you know what? Great for Gabe. And but that was quite a game. Ramon did ask me, are you sure about that score? Because we were actually trying to, just to catch you up real quick, Andrew, we were trying to do our streams and for some reason, just the area inside the stadium was real difficult to really get a good stream out of it. But I had to confirm a couple of times. Ramon just wasn't too sure about that, an 8-8 score, at the half. So definitely was a defensive battle. Now, I don't know if we're going to have the same result. I think that both teams are a little more capable of putting up some points this season, of course.
Well, I agree with that, Dave. It's just that Christian coming off that tough loss to La Jolla, 35-7. La Jolla started this season looking like they weren't necessarily the same La Jolla as last year, and maybe that's still the case. But La Jolla looked terrific against the Patriots.
Well, let's not forget that La Jolla had that real close game against Scripps Ranch early on in the first game of the season. What did they put up? About 104 points or so? I believe they did.
Ranch turned out to be pretty good. I mean, they have worked their way up considerably into the top 10.
Yeah, so I don't know. From what I understand, was it a change in quarterbacks or something that happened there? I believe I can't be quoted on that, but they didn't look like the same team. But then, come Christian, it looked like almost a repeat of last year's meeting at Valley Stadium.
Yeah, no, it looks like, they did lose a top player from last year that they, weren't necessarily, they have some good supporting cast as well. They're still a pretty darn good team. They're performing very, very well right now. But, for Christian in that game, for whatever reason, that's why I'm worried about this game, because maybe Christian on the road is not performing as well as they should. Now, the Marauders have performed inspiringly since the passing of head coach Chris Thompson, going 2-1. Of course, they beat Grossmont 2 weeks back, 13-7. Mira Mesa won that game at home. It was the first home game back for Mira Mesa since coach's passing. So I think the thoughts of Christian, I'm sure that Christian has already reached out, but they'll share their condolences again. But it's just going to be something that everyone's going to think about every time you play in Mira Mesa, at least for the near future.
This is true, but I think that it's really going to be I think that this is a point of the season where Christian's really got to get going. I mean, I think against a Mira Mesa team like this that is playing with such emotion, I think they need to duplicate that emotion. And they have the speed, they have the offense, they have one of the best defensive coordinators. And Andrew Darrell should know all about about Pat Kelly and all the great things that he can do. So I expect actually the defense to step up and probably a couple of turnovers and get it back into Jake's hands. And I don't know, maybe we won't be thrown real deep. Maybe we'll try to establish the running game and maybe even a couple of rollouts of Jake just picking up the first down and just playing a little more conservative. But I haven't seen Coach Danny Mitchell do a lot of conservative play, but you never know. That might be the trick this game.
Andrew, when you talk about Coach Pat Kelly, he's going to have to try to contain. Right now, Mira Mesa, their offense looks pretty good. I don't know if you have a comment on this game, but with quarterback Zappia and Evans, they've got some pretty. I don't want to say they match up all the way with Christian, but Mira Mesa is probably a favorite in this game.
Well, for Mira Mesa, again, that's so sad about the passing of their head coach. I was kind of shocked. Actually, read a little bit about him. What an amazing guy he was. Christian, I know Pat Kelly's gonna be ready. He's gonna have that defense ready. He always does. And you gotta remember, I think it's the first or maybe second time, maybe second year. There's not a Jeremiah on Christian as a quarterback. As we all watch Christian over the years, it's always been a Jeremiah in the program. So it's always kind of different watching Christian and saying, "Hey, there's not a Jeremiah on that program."
But rest assured, I can tell you, I'm sure that Pastor Jeremiah is on the sideline looking upon.
I'm sure he's definitely
making sure his boys are taking care of business.
I guarantee you, I don't know, a lot of people may or may not know this, but Pastor Jeremiah is pretty heavily involved in the school now than he was a while back.
Well, Christian's got a really good group, though. I will say, and athlete-wise, I mean, especially, and we talk about him often, and I do because I know how high Coach Mitchell holds him up too, and that's Joey Merritt. Just the way he is on both sides of the ball, offensively, defensively, even special teams. I mean, just a couple weeks ago, he had a 70-yard punt return as well. He really. I mean, if you want a pure defensive tackler, I'll definitely say if you want to learn how to tackle properly instead of some of these arm tackles you see even in the NFL, you watch this kid play, and I'll tell you what, he could probably show them a thing or two, even at the NFL level, some of the tackling I've been seeing anyway. And not to mention, we lose track sometimes of JC when he's I'm telling you, this guy gets a ball, it could be a 5-yard pass, but the run after the catch, the way that guy can run and just some of the jukes that he's making down the field are just phenomenal.
Well, I'm going to definitely give Christian a big chance in the game day. Now, Christian has lost 2 of their last 3 games, and those 2 losses were to opponents that, I don't know, I think you could easily compare them to Mira Mesa if you look at the ratings. So I think that is something that goes against Christian here, and they are on the road. So Mira Mesa opened their Eastern League schedule with a 28-13 win over Canyon Hills. That's the Eastern League's lowest rated team. Christian a week behind in getting rolling. This is the opener for them. Dave, this one also will impact the Division II playoff ratings a little bit. Coming in, Christian is 5th and Mira Mesa is 7th. While in the computers, those spots are reversed. In fact, I want to review just real quick how the computers rate the East County teams. Helix, Granite Hills, Steel Canyon, Christian, then West Hills, Grossmont, El Capitan, and Santana, and the others. But I'm talking about the major championship contenders right there. So I just thought that was interesting. So Dave, I think it's time to make a prediction. We're going to make Andrew make predictions so we can finally beat somebody. Andrew, you're going to have to step up and knock us off this week. I've been hot, Dave. I don't know if you've been, I think I might be ahead right now.
We love you. Don't forget tonight's Wednesday
night. You want me to pull the trigger first because I'm winning?
You go ahead because I have been a little I believe me, I hear it from some of our viewers, whether it's on the field or off the field,
Yeah.
that I've missed a few of them. So go ahead.
Yeah, I've been hot, but I know you're going to pick Christian, and you know what? I'm going to too, and because of, this is why Christian is 3-0 in the all-time series, and when were those wins? Last year, the year before, and the year before that. I think Mira Mesa matches up very, very well, and I think even Mira Mesa could be even the slightest of favorites here. And even though it kind of looks like a high-scoring game, I think about that phone call I had with you when I said what? It's 8-8. And I think that it might end up being the same way. It might be a little bit more defense than we might expect here. And I think when you talk about guys, talk about Christian's defense and the way they're playing pretty well. Those guys, Merritt and Shabloski. So I'm going to pick the Patriots as well, somewhere around the 19-18 range. Andrew, clean sweep here.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go Christian here. Like I said, Pat Kelly always comes out ready with the defense. You just never know with Pat and the defense he's gonna throw out.
Yeah, we might be a homer pick there, Dave. Like I said, I mean, I think the computer actually has it. I think Mira Mesa by like a point. So, Christian's going to have to. They're going to have to play a little bit better than they've been playing to get over the hump, I think, against Mira Mesa. There's no doubt. I think the Marauders are playing inspired. What can you say? I mean, I'm not trying to just use that as a storyline. I mean, it has to be the case. They've been extremely competitive since the tragedy.
Well, there's always, even without that being the case, there's always teams out there that are lesser than and less athletic that they will their way to win, and that seems to be possibly what's going on too. Is they have that will that we're gonna win. We know we're going to win. I think that they might run into a bump in the road. I think that Christian realizes that the time is now, and if they're looking at their playoff implications at this point too, a league game that needs to be won. And what I've always liked about watching Pat Kelly out there live is just how animated he is with his play calling. And I'll tell you what, and more power to him, because if I was the opposition, I couldn't figure out and I couldn't make 2 cents of what he's doing. And some of the descriptions that he's used, the kind of whatever animal it is. But I will tell you what, he hands down is one of the best, and I think even outside of the county. So that was a key pickup for Coach Mitchell, and Coach Mitchell talks very highly of him also about his addition. And I think that they've had some time to put together a great game plan, though, and I think that I just think we're going to see something special, and I think it might turn into a turnover battle, and I'm going to say Christian pulls it off by a field goal.
Okay, like I said, that's gonna be a tough one. All right, let's get into the Grossmont Valley League. We started to talk about what happened last week. I mean, this is a championship game in the Grossmont Valley League that will help decide the league title anyway. And if Mount Mcgill wants to have any chance to gain a share, win the league title, whatever the case may be, we know they're only going to have 8 games. They have that situation with Santana still, but they're going to have to beat the El Capitan Vaqueros, the red hot El Capitan Vaqueros, ranked 15th in the media poll this week, Dave. Hey, Mount Mcgill, they've been underreported and underrated at this point with their 2-2 record and their running game with Ruben Hernandez leading the way, and Davian McGowan also looking good. He's a sophomore, so I think Mount Mcgill's found their running back for the next few years, and they've done a good job pushing people aside and picked up the league victory over Monte Vista.
And let's not forget about their key target too in the receiving core, and young Jeremiah Castillo as his favorite.
And he's playing some quarterback as well. He's taking maybe half. I don't want to say half the snaps, because I mean, when Ruben gets it, they kind of, and they'll put McGowan back there. They have, kind of a double snap. They can take direct snaps. That's what Mount Mcgill is doing, and they are running straight ahead. With Hernandez, it's different. While JD could fake that pass or maybe threaten it, Ruben, he takes one step back to plant his foot and then starts running. So El Capitan's going to have to corral these guys, and they're going to be at home, and they're playing good. And just want to mention, Dave, that new scoreboard, the best scoreboard in the Grossmont Conference, maybe even the East. Yes, the best scoreboard in the East County at Mount Mcgill High School, the only fully illuminated board that can do graphics and all that. I think there's some water polo and some aquatic ones maybe that can do the same thing, but they have a beautiful new scoreboard. Anyway, great. It's going to be a good game, Dave. El Cap, what a job they did with Yoakley. 4 touchdowns in different ways.
I will tell you right now, I think that's what I don't want to take anything away from West Hills early, but I tell you what, I said it, but at the beginning of the season, before they even snapped the first football, I said that game coming at the end of the season against El Capitan against West Hills is going to have some serious implications. And I said it from day one, and lo and behold, look at the Vaqueros, and man, did they have a heck of a game. And they played on all 3 facets. They were just they were mauling them on defense, whether it be Antoine Yoakley.
I said Antoine. I meant Savvy on Yoakley. But, I mean, hey, we want to talk about both of them. Go ahead, Dave. I want to clear that up. I think I said Antoine, but Savvy was our man. Was the man.
Yeah, and then Savvy Savvy is just one of those. You can watch about 7 tacklers come from every angle, and somehow he can spin right out of those. And he is. And I keep saying that, and that's because I've watched Jackson real closely now, the way Lamar Jackson runs down the field. And you know what? Savvy he's pretty similar the way he gets away from these guys. And even a stiff arm I saw early on in that game on his way to score after I believe it was after he got the pick 6 early on in the first quarter, and had a little stiff arm just on the way down. And he's not. What's great about that kid, he's not very flashy. He scores his touchdown, he tosses the ball, and then he's on to the next play.
Yes and no. And I know Coach Berner was saying, hey, that's not a spike, but he set the ball down with such authority and grace, and it bounced right back up like 8 feet in the air. I mean, it was not a spike at all. And I teased him on social media, and I said that was an NFL quality spike, and because it was so smooth. And that's how Savion is. I mean, he's so smooth, especially that first step juke when he goes to the outside to make guys commit wrong, and he can come back. Andrew's getting uncomfortable because we're talking about that blowout win over the Sultans last week, but certainly got to admire right now, Andrew, what Yoakley did. He said, maybe I'm not getting enough. No, not enough people are talking about what I did, but it was written up perfectly in the newspaper. All 4 ways he scored a touchdown, and I thought they I thought they blew it on the highlights show. They had the twins on TV last week. They took them down to the TV station, Dave, and they had them live in the studio. And they had Coach Carroll. Maybe you saw this, Andrew, on PPR last week. They had Coach Carroll break down Yoakley's abilities, right? Break down Savion's abilities. And right before they cut back to the studio, Coach Carroll said, he can run it, he can pass it, he can defend it, he can kick it. And then I think what Yoakley saw was when they did the highlights, I think they only showed 2 of his touchdowns. So I think that's what Savion meant about not getting the respect that he deserves, getting all 4 of the disciplines. But when he goes out there, and everyone was having fun on social media too about maybe he needs to, work the snack bar, take the tickets, all those things I like to say. But I'd rather just see him get, a return for a touchdown. Maybe he can go out there and kick a field goal. What other ways can he score?
He kind of reminds me of Landon Lazoya, who
Oh,
heck of an athlete at Santana for us. He played football, basketball. Yeah. It sucked when Landon couldn't play senior year of basketball. That hurt our. If you look at that team when Landon was a senior, had we had everybody back that year, uh, I think that could have been a CIF year in both sports, really.
and David, for now, the Sultans are going to be, they're looking to try to get back in this championship race, and they can do it, obviously, here. Well, we'll get to them in a minute. Sorry, bro.
Well,
Got me off track there.
Sorry.
Andrew's going back into the archives with me. I get carried away. Sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
I just want to give credit to Xavier Peace was in there again and making his impact felt as well. And let's not forget, they have two quarterbacks as well. And Newland comes in there and boy, I think he's overshadowed a little bit. But I mean, by all means, the Oakleys are fantastic. But boy, he had one that he was he threw a dime to Sabi that really was pretty into the end zone, and he does. So I think there's a future with him too. I think he does a fine job back there, and of course he gets overshadowed quite a bit.
Yeah, but it's not the first time he's connected. You look at the statistics for Savion Oakley, and they certainly match up with anybody in the county as far as sheer numbers are concerned, offensively, and he does it on defense as well. And he also serves as the team's punter, so he does do it all. And I know that they're very, very proud of all his accomplishments there. I'm not saying that they rely on him, too heavily. They do have some other weapons, I think, and as long as they start to get healthy, we talk about all those injuries, those big injuries that they had, but I also want to mention we never got a chance to shout out to Jacob Jones and his hard luck injury, and hope he is recovering well. But he was playing very, very well when he suffered that terrible injury that has cost him the rest of the season as well, Dave.
Well, and let's not forget Alex Vea came in and was actually re-injured early on in the first quarter. It looked like actually on the kickoff coverage of the first play of the game, and we wish him well that he can get right back to it. It's a shame when you lose somebody. He comes in for one play, he's all fired. You saw him with the flag and the smoke and all the waving the flag.
And hamstring injuries are so, I think it's a hamstring, right? So those are so, because sometimes you come back too early, and if you do it now, you can come back the next week if you didn't restrain it too bad. So we'll just have to see. I think they could use Alex in this game, but I think El Capitan is expected to win. Like I said, I would think pretty comfortably, Dave. I think they're probably favored by about 2 touchdowns, maybe a little more in this one. But I think Mount Mcgill, they're kind of a wild card in this whole situation because they have big guys. We know they have a short roster, but they definitely can move some guys in the trenches. And as long as they don't turn it over and can grind a little bit on them, they might be able to get some scoring drives and stay in this game. I mean, El Capitan, they're explosive. But they're on the road here.
Well, let's not forget too, though, that El Capitan doesn't like to turn over the ball much themselves. A little stingy in that area too, and it's really hard to judge the offensive line really because Savi's getting rid of the ball so quickly, or he's out of that pocket real quick. So really hard to say, but for the most part, they've done their job as well. I'm going to say in this one, even though it is in Spring Valley, El Capitan's going to go over there, and I'm going to say they're going to win by 21.
Andrew, you got to pick on this one. Andrew, Santana and Mount Mcgill might have to. They might not be able to make up that game that's been delayed. What do we call it, Dave? Postponed, right? Because there's no weeks in the schedule unless that one of their non-league, they'd have to maneuver it around a little bit. But I think Santana would have won that game over Mount Mcgill, Andrew, even though Mount Mcgill is looking improved. They're looking good, looking decent.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with El Cap myself because you can't count out Coach Brunner. He does each week. He just has those guys prepared, and Coach Burner, as the rest of us, he doesn't like the noises. He tries to keep them poised as much as possible. Just he does it the El Cap way, and that's how Burner's always been for 20 years. But I can see Burner winning 35-14.
And it's funny you say he keeps the poise and keeps the noise down, but I'll tell you what, and it'll forever be my favorite, and till the last time I hear it. And every time they win, I want to get as close as I can because it's one of my favorite. And I definitely know that probably the opposition doesn't love it, but just the voice and the way he does it with the after the win about how about them Vaqueros, boy, he lets you know that they did what they were supposed to do. But it's after the game, and like you said, it's all quiet, and you be quiet and you're poised and you don't talk. You just do your job until you see zeros on that clock, and then we'll have a little fun.
Yeah, and that one got out of hand quickly last week, and they just got on out of there. Santana, like I said, we'll talk about them and their situation. I got to make a pick here. I will say this, Dave. Mount Mcgill has gone 8-1-1 against El Capitan in the last 10 meetings. That's interesting, but yeah, I've got El Capitan. Probably I've got him between 10 and 14 points. El Capitan gets the win, but I want to see Mount Mcgill keep looking good. I think that because of their unfortunate situation this season with their scheduling, I'd like to see them mix it up a little bit and make these administrators work a little bit to decide what's happening with the cancellation and the postponements, and have some clarity on that.
Well, you can bring either that, or you can see if Brad Moreno is available, stretching out in the stands.
Okay, Dave, let's move on here and take a look at West Hills going in to play El Cajon Valley. Dave, El Cajon Valley, they tough game last week against Valhalla. They started great, was a good game early on, and Valhalla just kind of, used some of their size, used some of their depth to overcome El Cajon Valley and get that win and take that win from the Braves. And West Hills, of course, we know they're coming in with 6-0, 2-0 already in league. Dave, can you pick an upset here?
Well, I'll tell you, I don't know if I'm as I don't want to use the word fearful, but I don't know if I'm as as worried as possibly Coach Ash as a trap game, and as we all know, the 1995 season where he was going to have a perfect season, and they were almost all the way there, and then here comes non-league Valhalla, and
they're putting non-league on the last day of the season. It's weird, but yeah.
And then they lose to Valhalla and head on into the playoffs, and then unfortunately lose to the Wildcats after that. So I can tell you right now, he was already talking about looking at the ECV film with a fine-tooth comb after they beat Monte Vista, and I'm sure he gathered the film after that as well in their second bout against Valhalla. So I think he's seen plenty, and it gives the Wolfpack plenty of time to prepare. I don't want to take anything away from everything that El Cajon Valley has done, though, because I have seen them win. I've seen them lose. They've been in almost all of the games, with the exception of the opener against Mission Bay. And very surprisingly how many points were scored against them by the Valhalla Norsemen, especially after they only scored, I believe, 14 points against Hilltop out of the gate. So it's really hard to judge that one. El Cajon's been in at least 4 or 5 of these games this whole season, so they played well. They played real well, I would say, especially offensive line, and that's what Coach Ash was talking about too, and how well their defense plays. And this could be that trap game, so he's going to play it as hard as he would play any other team that he's played thus far. So, I mean, you've seen it yourself. Kellogg Gordon, really great back in the backfield. And then on the other side of the ball, too, he can make quite a few tackles, and he has made quite a few tackles and scored a majority of the touchdowns for the Braves. Just pretty much done everything that he could possibly do. Let's not forget about Daniel Jacobs. I think he's done a fine job behind center as well, and he's been very good with the ball, and not giving up too many picks, and not throwing the those gifts, I should say, or many of those pick sixes. So I think they're a well-disciplined offense and defense, and I think that both Coach Osborne and Coach Cliff have put together some pretty good game plans, solid, I should say. But I believe it or not, I think that Coach Ash and Coach Q will have their hands full. But at the same time, I mean, I'm looking at West Hills, and I'm hoping they get the big boy back, and the big boy, I mean Max Conaway. I think that's huge. He gets back. Hopefully, those ribs are doing better. He did go down against Valhalla early on, or actually, I think it was mid-second quarter against Valhalla. And he's had some time, though, to heal up. They had the bye. That's what Coach Ash was hoping for. And then never count out Dylan Snyder. He's Braden Oberg's second go-to guy. And as we talk about every week, every week, that Oberg is very careful with the ball. And he doesn't throw interceptions, really, period.
Well, Andrew, Dave's given the Braves the best pump-up advice that he can give them, but they played 26 times all time, and West Hills has won 23 of those.
I'll have to go with West Hills on this one. Coach Ash does a good job with those guys as well. I believe Coach Kinzer's still the offensive coordinator. I could be wrong. But Coach Kinzer always has an offense ready for those guys. And West Hills, they look good. They look good on paper. They're honestly blowing teams out, not by little points either. If you look at their scores, they're just blowing people out. I believe we play El Cajon either this week. The following week or the week after. So that'd be an interesting game. But I myself think West Hills is pretty good this year. People should watch out for them. They do look scary and good.
Yeah, and I mentioned mostly their offense, but their defense has pretty much been shut down defense, and no one's really scoring much against that team very often. And not to mention on the offensive side of the ball, let's not forget Mbimbo has been great on the line, and we also. And I forgot to mention that too, Ramon. You've seen it a couple of times. They've been up by so much that Dill has taken over behind center a couple of times as well, giving Oberg a break, and he's done pretty well too. So it shows that they not only do they have depth now, but they're going to have some depth later too, in the future at West Hills High School for that football team.
Look, I think the Braves will give it their all, and I think the Braves may even, shock them early and get something done in the first quarter or two. That's just the way it is. I mean, they definitely have some talented players, but it just becomes a wear-down game, unfortunately, for the Braves right now. And I mentioned earlier in the official CIF rankings, I said Santana 4th, West Hills 5th. Just want to note that they are actually tied. They have the same exact number of points. Not El Cap, though. El Cap's still in 7th, behind them both. So maybe that'll change. Maybe it won't. I don't know, but it's gonna be hard the way these numbers work. Yeah, no. Well, hey, like they keep telling the coach, I don't know which coaches voted and which didn't, but most of the coaches voted to go back to this system, so that's the way it is. So, all right, now I'm also taking West Hills. I've got them by, I'm going to say 4 touchdowns. I could beat them by maybe more, but I've got El Cajon doing something. They always do something.
Well,
remember they stunned El Cap in the first quarter too.
That's what I was going to actually get into is 14-7 game for a while there, and we're competing with El Cap. With that being said, I'm going to give El Cajon a little bit of leeway there. But I'm still going to call West Hills by 14.
Yeah, and I'm just saying on El Cajon Valley, I mean, they're going to, be great if they could beat one of these teams down the stretch. They're going to be holding on for their playoff lives each week when those new numbers come out. They're really going to have to rely on some math. They're in the playoff picture inside the bubble right now, but unless they can pull off an upset, they're going to be hanging on, maybe squeak in. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. It's going to be close.
They needed to win that. They needed to win that
in the playoffs.
They needed to win that game against Valhalla. They would have won that game against Valhalla. They would have been a sure win. So now it's going to be an uphill battle.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we said Andrew was saying Santana, and here they are. And the graphics man doesn't know how to spell @ but it's Monta Vista @ Santana. And Dave, you talked about it. I mean, look, there's no doubt Santana's favored to win this game. They're expected to win this game, but the scales are definitely tipped a little bit more towards the Monarchs as far as Santana's going to have to revamp their situation. They'll probably, I would imagine, now granted, they without Ledger, without Wright, if he's not in at quarterback, they have another guy that played, I believe, quarterback and I don't know if they used a third quarterback in that Coronado game or if they have used a third quarterback at all this year. If you got the lowdown, or Andrew could tell us what he thinks. But I know that the Sultans can definitely run with the Monarchs. The Monarchs might be able to run a little bit too, but the Sultans should be able to grind them down, wear them down, and get the win. But it's just going to be a little bit different type of Santana from here on out.
Well, I got the post game a little, as you saw, some sound bites from Braden and Braden Sheeran, and he was pretty much saying that the practice was going to be consisting of finding a quarterback that can keep them in the game and drive them down the field. So what I'm hoping is for Santana, especially if they are going to be running that ball, that line is playing 100%, and that Lucas Nash and they're going to need Braden, and they need to have them in quite often.
Has Nash returned, guys?
I haven't.
I don't think he got a carry last week, so I don't know.
Right, and that's
he could have appeared in the game.
And the other thing is Braden was a little roughed up too. He had his shoulder wrapped up. As he told me though, it wasn't. It was more of a bruise type of thing. So he assured that he was going to be back this week.
Andrew, what can you tell us about the Sultan situation?
I talked to Coach Tippin, our offensive coordinator and girls basketball coach. He's said Monday that this week we were going to try to find a quarterback. I believe the JV quarterback is sick. we won't have Ethan this week. He will be taking the week off to rest his ribs. He got hurt last game against El Cap. I think we all know what Monta Vista is going to do to us. So they're going to run that wing T, which we've had a hard time stopping for a few years. But I like to think we're going to come out win. It is our last home game of the season. Friday night's going to be a busy night for us. We also have the Santee Ravens Pop Warner night, and it is our senior night. So it's
maybe that'll give the Sultans the little extra that they need to get through this game. But I think that Andrew's right. I think that Monta Vista is going to do what Monta Vista does. They're going to between Aiden Roby and then even the quarterback. They're going to have Richardson running it as well.
Yeah. I thought those were poignant comments, and just hats off to Jaden for owning up, Dave, to what went down last week.
He had a little. Some of them that we didn't want to have him make it in there, but he was real up front, and kind of had a little heart to heart, and he said, "But you know what? We're supposed to be leaders, and we're gonna act like leaders, and we're gonna come out there this coming week, and we're gonna show that we are capable of winning the game, and that we're capable of being the leaders that we were elected to be." So, more power to them. It's really nice to see, especially this day and age, and all those things that they got going on with bathrooms and things, and these TikTok challenges, stuff like that, that you have great kids like that that step it up and own what they did, and they're gonna just come in the next week and play some football and try and win a football game. I mean,
they're starting to reverse TikTok challenge now. You've seen that where they're like decorating the bathrooms now. So I don't know if that's going to be any better. But Andrew, I know what you're talking about when you talk about, you think of the trajectory that these two teams are on. It's a bummer that the Monarchs are not looking great right now. They haven't won a game yet. So that's too bad. But they still have had the Sultans number over the last few times they've played them. You're right.
And Coach, the Monta Vista coach, he always does a good job preparing wins or losses. He always has them ready to go, and so does Coach Estes. And I know Coach Estes is trying to get us back on track.
But you don't see. I mean, you certainly see it the way I do, right? I mean, they're just going to have to hope to win this battle in the trenches and run better than them.
Yeah, it's going to come down to who's going to run faster and which defense is going to come up. Well, I mean, we always say we've always been known as the injury curse in all of our sports. And when we get to championship games, we can never really seal the deal.
Well, Santana can get back in it. They need a victory, and then we still got to work out what's going on with that Mount Mcgill game. But if they're going to have any chance, no one can have two losses. Even in a 7-team league right now.
No.
I think that's one of the things that's kept the Sultans alive so far too. The offense has been playing well, but I think the defense needs to get a lot of the credit too. They've kept them afloat when some of those games were getting out of hand as far as turnover wise, and the defense was returning the favor. And whether they had a strip sack or 2 or 3, I like to say that the key to this one is going to be to get to Richardson and maybe a strip sack here and there, and maybe a scoop and score. I think it's going to be one though on turnovers, who's going to run after it when the ball does come out, who's going to actually run after that ball, as far as the defenses are concerned too. So yeah, I think it's going to be a low scoring event, at least in this one. And I've been going out on that limb, Ramon, at it, and that limb's getting ready to break. So I'm gonna have to say this one. Normally, sorry to the Monarchs, but I'm gonna stay even with the injuries. I'm gonna go with Santana by 2.
Oh, really? Okay. I was saying that's no limb, Dave. Andrew, the Sultans are still now. Computers and ratings don't know about big injuries, and the computers really have Santana favored in this one. I'll just be point blank about it by about 5 touchdowns. I don't see that being the case here, but I think the Sultans can still win this game. I want to say comfortably. Do you feel comfortable in giving us a pick, or would you rather pass like they do on TV when you're affiliated with the school?
Since I am affiliated with the school, I like to think we'll get a win by 2-3 touchdowns. But like I said, it is our senior night, Friday night. It is our Ravens night. It's Friday nights are usually a big deal in Santee.
Well, I would push that senior night, Dave, with my seniors, because if I'm Santana, I've got to raise the spirits up of this team and make sure. We talked about overlooking teams this week, right? And what Jaden said to you, Dave, it was very poignant. I thought he said, we're going to be having a different conversation this week. So if I'm Coach Hamamoto, I've got an easy sell job here, right? I have a wounded opponent coming off a huge loss that in their biggest game of the year that left a lot of doubts, and now they have to get by with 2 quarterbacks down. So I think it's an easy sell. And if I'm Monta Vista, I'm looking anywhere I can to get that first victory, and it's got to come somewhere. If you're going to get it, you got to take advantage of a team. You got to take advantage of a team when they're down. I'm sorry, that's just the nature of sports.
We haven't played Mount Mcgill yet. We haven't played West Hills yet, and we haven't played El Cajon. I mean, if we're gonna get somewhere, I mean, this is kind of do or die for us.
I've got the Sultans by certainly. I'm going to say 3 touchdowns. I'll agree with you, Dave. We're all on the Sultans here.
Yeah, like I say, like you mentioned, though, I think that's exactly what they're going to do is try to pour some salt on the wounds, and take advantage of anything they can. That is, as far as the Monarchs are concerned, but they're kind of in a do or die situation of we want to win some ball games and have a halfway decent record by the end of the season. So. Really, those are the more scary teams if you think about it. Is when you don't have much to lose, those are the ones that are going to sneak up on you, and you got to be real careful.
All right, I think we went through these last games. Yep, we can go through these last games a little quicker. We're going to get to the non-league schedule right now. The league games are always fun to talk about with both of our teams, but this should be a tough one for my Helix Highlanders. Dave, the 9th-ranked Highlanders are going to take on the 5th-ranked team in the state of California, the Diablos Rojos of Mission Viejo. Dave, Mission Viejo ranked 5th in the state. Helix has already played Servite, who's ranked 3rd in the state. I thought they performed admirably against Servite despite getting stomped on, but they played hard and they kept it up with that team, and now they've got Mission Viejo at home. So I think Helix can give Mission Viejo a little bit of a battle. They're going to be a pretty big underdog here. The computers have them, as much as 5 touchdown underdogs. I think Helix can stay in it a little bit closer than that. Mission Viejo's quarterback does have 7 interceptions this season, but they have some very, very talented wide receivers. That's going to put a little bit of pressure on the Helix defense. And I will mention this, that the last time Mission Viejo traveled into the San Diego section, it lost, and that was to a Helix rival, Oceanside, 24-7. So maybe they can point to that one, but Mission Viejo, Dave, is a pretty substantial favorite here against the Highlanders.
Well, I just want to say, I mean, you know, we all know it's gonna it's gonna be on the success, and I gotta say, Chris Washington has got to have his back. I mean, with that saddle on there, it's got to be some abrasions there because he's been carrying that team pretty far on his back pretty much the whole season. I mean, to be honest, and I wouldn't be surprised even against the solid defense like Mission Viejo. I'm sure he's gonna have the ball probably at least 24, 25 times, and I think he's gonna rush for at least 200 yards like he has been. I think so, and I'm just because I'm not sold on the passing game yet. Which way they're really going. As far as rivaling Jesse and you know the two quarterback system, I'm just not sold as much as on Washington because he's proved over and over that he's going to get you those 6, and he's going to run hard. He's going to run behind those holes. And you know what? Let's give credit to the offensive line too, because I think they've been doing a heck of a job for the Highlanders and for whoever they do have behind center back there.
Yeah, I think with Helix, Andrew, look, they're if they lose this game, they're pretty big underdog. They're going to be 3-3 right now. They are the highest rated team still in the East County. Do you have any problem with these teams being ranked, even if they have a 500 record? Helix has played 2 of the top 5 after this game. They'll have played 2 of the top 5 teams in the state. Not even Cathedral's doing that.
Hey, you can't count Helix out. I mean, you can't count a lot of these ranked teams out. I mean, each week's a different week. Looks like Mission Viejo's 4-1, but it's on Helix's field, and Helix has been known for athletes in all sports. So you just never know what kind of Helix team you're gonna get. I'm just glad I don't play Helix.
Well, I just think I don't know, Ramon. They just don't seem. It doesn't have that Helix vibe, that Highlander vibe that they usually have season after season after season. It doesn't seem the same. Even in that short little spring football season that we had, I just don't. It doesn't have the same feel as, let's say, 2 years ago. You know, where they were pretty much the last several years just running over opponents. It didn't matter if you were in Tucson or you were in Utah; they were going to beat you, and they were going to come back and they were going to beat all the league opponents. I think they still. I think they have a little tweaking to do with the quarterback situation. Other than that, I think they do have some receivers. They have speed. They have the back. I just think they're just missing just that little bit of Helix magic, if you will.
Yeah, and I think Owens has said that, you know, since Jesse was kind of the incumbent coming in and Ortiz was, you know, coming in to, you know, want a challenge for that. And Jesse's performed admirably. And he's also, you know, been there. He's quarterback of the future for the team. So at this point, you know, maybe he'll find a way to get into the game this week, talking about Ortiz, if Helix falls behind substantial. I've got, you know, Mission Viejo winning this one by maybe 3 or 4 touchdowns. Hopefully Helix can stay in there. It's funny. Maybe I have Helix kind of as underrated. I know you're talking them down a little bit. I just see him as number 9 right there. It's funny that, you know, I think they're number 8 in the CUDA rankings, but for all the talk that, you know, some teams are not doing well in the CIF rankings, Helix is actually 6th. And you know what? I don't know. If they sweep that Grossmont Hills League, Helix is not out of contention for the Open Division just yet. They're right behind Lincoln and Torrey Pines. A little bit tough to get to those top three, Carlsbad, Cathedral, and Mission Hills. So, Helix, these games get graded. I don't know. It really would probably help them no matter what, because Mission Viejo is such a tough team. It doesn't help you necessarily in the CIF rankings. So Helix may actually drop a little bit this week unless they can pull off a big upset. But and again, when you're talking about upper echelon teams, Helix can definitely challenge and maybe do something magical. But it would take some magic to beat Mission Viejo this week.
Yeah, and I mean, I never said my final on that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, and because they are playing at home, though, maybe they do get some magic. But I'm still gonna take Mission Viejo, but give Helix the benefit of the doubt, and Mission Viejo by 10.
Okay, Andrew, you like Mission Viejo?
Yeah, I like.
Highlanders there.
Yeah.
Okay, Dave. Well, Kellen Cobb, Scott Longerbone, they're good friends, right? So he can call up Coach Longerbone this week and get the lowdown on St. Francis. Steel Canyon was just there last week at their beautiful facility where they honored their great head coach that passed away suddenly last year, and an emotional night for St. Francis and Steel Canyon. We'll talk about this game with Granite Hills, but Steel Canyon is not on our docket this week. But Steel Canyon almost went in there to St. Francis and surprised St. Francis. Almost, stole the game from them. St. Francis ended up coming back to win in overtime. But Steel Canyon was great. Major Givens was great. Adrian Chargaloff, great job by Steel Canyon. They're 1-5. Everyone says, the best team with a losing record. I mean, yes, that's Steel Canyon. Don't forget, I mentioned the ratings by the computers in the East County. It's Helix, Granite Hills, and then Steel Canyon at 1-5. But let's get into the Eagles. They're going to take on St. Francis, and Kellen can get the scoop from Longerbone on what happened last week, Dave.
Absolutely, and I think Granite Hills gained some traction by going up to Tucson and winning a pretty good game up there, giving the team some confidence, especially the offense, and scoring some points again. But let's not forget that Zach Burton did quite a heck of a job up there too, and the defense really stepped up really well up there, and even the backs were doing quite well. Really, it seemed like they had the well-oiled machine of the Granite Hills Eagles once again. So they picked it up, and I think if they, like you said, if they get the lowdown from Longerbone, I think that Granite Hills has to go up there. But I don't want to say that Granite Hills is that much better than Steel Canyon, but I think, again, and I think they've gotten over this bug. I think they showed that in Tucson anyway, is they don't turn the ball over. I think that they are going to win this game, and I'm not going to say they're going to win the game handily. It'll be interesting to see, though, how the quarterback situation feathers out.
Yeah, I thought Sanders looked just fine in the game against Walden Grove, Dave. I thought Sanders looked pretty good. What do you know anything going in?
I did.
Rogers. Look, we raved about Rogers. He didn't make the trip. They played Sanders, the Helix transfer, and he looked pretty good in the game. Tomasello was in there as well.
And I think I haven't talked to Kellen this week yet, but I think that with that in mind, I wouldn't be surprised to see Sanders getting a majority of the snaps, but don't count it out to see Tomasello in there once in a while.
You mentioned Rogers not making the trip last week. Before when you got that information, was his status an injury, like Did you know if it was going to be longer than 2 weeks?
I never, there was never an official injury even described.
Okay.
It just
Just
was
they just said he would not make
that
the trip.
he didn't make the trip. So
Yeah.
who knows? We could see we could have all three quarterbacks making an appearance. You know, with that being said, that just gives them even more of a boost. But you know, I think we're tending to lose a focus on how good the running back game has been, though, along with the defense. You know, that Zach Darling has been one of the blooming young running backs that is getting to carry the rock and eat up quite a few yards now. It's not just Joaquin Thomas. You know, he was getting a majority of the load, and now he gets to share it. And I think that Granite Hills has progressively mid-season gotten better after they ran into a little bit of a bumpy road, you know, with the Madison. But you know, I think that they ran into that situation at the right time. Now this is the time to really start plowing through these teams if you could possibly do so. And as I always mention, don't forget the cat. No matter what their records are, and it's coming up on the calendar, mark your calendar. And Andrew, if Santana's not playing, you definitely want to go see Granite Hills and Steel Canyon play. And it doesn't matter where they play. That game usually is the game of the year. It doesn't matter. Throw the records out. Those games are always phenomenal.
So we know the Sultans are busy on that week, but Andrew St. Francis of La Cañada, you figure Steel Canyon went up there last week. I would think, even though Steel Canyon is, like we said, I mean, they're looking for 1-5. They're playing pretty fine. Granite Hills maybe rated a little bit still above Steel Canyon. Steel Canyon just went up there, almost won at St. Francis, lost in overtime. If Granite Hills is a little bit better, can they outlast this St. Francis team? St. Francis looked like they had a pretty good club last week in the game against Steel Canyon. They were able to drive right back down the field and get the win, but it was a great comeback again. Almost the second big upset of the year by Steel Canyon. Second big comeback.
Oh, so Granite Hills, you gotta commend Kellen for the job he's done in the last few years, just building that team. We've always said he's about one quarterback away from winning something big. I mean, you can see that in all three of his programs. Kellen does a great job. He's a great guy. Pleasure to always hang out with. But St. Francis looks like a tough team. I believe I've seen them once or twice before, but might have been in a basketball game. But you never know what Kellen's gonna do. I mean, Kellen's one of those coaches. You never know what kind of tricks he's got in the bag. But I'm gonna go with St. Francis here.
Dave, I think when you talk about what St. Francis, what their coaches would have to, I mean, it's obvious for anyone who looks at it. I, kind of agree with Andrew. St. Francis is still a very, very good team, and they're at home. And Granite Hills doesn't really have the experience. You'd hope that they gain from that experience. We talked about how they never travel out of the county at all to play a football game, and now they're going to do it for the second straight, not week, but second straight game. So that's kind of tough.
Yeah, I think it is, but I think at this juncture, I think that because they are and because they do have a little bit of that experience under their belt now with that win, over Walnut Grove, I think that if they could beat St. Francis going out of town again, I think that's going to pretty much solidify the remainder of their season. I'm not going to say that they're going to cruise downhill, but I think it's going to make it a lot easier route to first round bye.
Yeah, right now, granted, they're right there. I mean, they're in 8th place, so that would be, in that top 4 in Division 1. So, but a lot depends, I guess, when we get to those final 3 weeks. I mean, those are going to be great games, and a lot's going to be decided. in those games. Who knows? Will it be another tri-championship somehow, some way? So I don't want to discount any other team that I'm not mentioning out of those 4 teams. We don't know what's going to happen with any of those teams, but St. Francis is favored by the computers by probably maybe a couple of touchdowns in this game. But Steel Canyon didn't just went in there and did a great job. And although I'm very impressed with how hard they played, Granite Hills has some nice weapons. You talked about most of them. Now, Andrew said, about the quarterback situation, like Dave, they always say, right? And you're a guy who always subscribe. If you have 3 quarterbacks, you don't have one.
But the thing was, I mean, you just got so many other. Let's just take the quarterbacks out of the situation, and how well did that defense play up there too, though?
There's a class difference between Walden Grove and St. Francis.
Oh yeah, and I understand that, but I think that if they could take that same mentality with them out of town once again as well, that's where I throw in the will to win once again. They had to be resilient in that Walden Grove game, even though they kind of were in control the whole game. Walden Grove was a decent team. Even Burton, he said that their line was one of the best he had faced, and really that team doesn't necessarily match up ranking-wise with some of the other teams that Granite Hills has already met. So maybe that was just in the trenches. Walden Grove did move the ball pretty well as well, so I can't go against Granite just because Steel Canyon almost won, and I love the offensive talent. Steel Canyons did it with their running game. They don't have much going at quarterback right now. Granite Hills has a little bit more going for them, despite the 3 quarterback situation. Steel Canyon's in a 2 quarterback situation, it looks like right now. So I'm gonna take Granite to find a way to edge this one out. Well,
10-point underdog there.
Yeah, but you know what? I think that don't overlook also. Early on in the season too, they beat some other legitimate contenders. You look at the record right now, and that's what we'll get into shortly. They beat Poway, and Poway is about to play Grossmont, and Poway has done really well since they lost to Granite Hills. I believe they've lost 1 game since they played Granite Hills. So, all those things are going to come into play as well.
Okay. Well, I think we all made our picks, right? Dave, you took the Eagles, right?
I'm going to take the Eagles by 7.
Okay, Andrew can take the lead on us there with the out-of-town team, St. Francis. You talked about it, Dave. Poway is going to go into Grossmont. Grossmont's got to find a way to beat this kind of opponent. Now, they beat El Camino at home, right, when people weren't necessarily sure what we were going to see with Grossmont this year, and now all of a sudden Grossmont maybe have lost some games that maybe they were supposed to perform better in. They've also lost to some tough teams. So this is a tough team. You talk about how well Poway is playing, but I would just try to channel that and try to look at that El Camino game and say, this is how we have to perform against Poway.
Well, yeah, especially since that was their biggest credible win was against El Camino, because the other one was the one right out of the gate against Sweetwater. And not to say that Sweetwater is a bad opponent, but I just don't think that they're as big a threat to most of our conference teams in the Grossmont Conference. I think a lot of our teams are far better and talented than they are. But a couple things I was looking at. I mean, like I mentioned, the first game out of the gate, they won. They lost to Granite 14-10, but they played a pretty close game, and then they won 2 straight over Vista 55-14. And then defeated Del Norte 28-14. This is just recently, those 2 wins back to back.
Del
And they were,
Norte has almost the same exact computer ranking as Grossmont. Go ahead.
yeah, and get this, they were down 7-0 in the first, yeah, the first quarter, and then the second quarter, Poway scored 3 unanswered touchdowns, uh, and before the half, and then finally adding, a touchdown and an extra point at the end. But adding those 21, and then the defense able to hold them off for the most part. As far as Del Norte is, I think that's pretty impressive, and that's where I was kind of looking at. That's where Grossmont really has got to find a way to stop that offense, because that offense, especially the run, I think their biggest success is with the run.
Yeah, Andrew, I don't know if maybe this, I want to give Grossmont somehow, some way, a chance in this game, and I'll mention this to you. This is a non-league game, and Poway's already won a couple of league games. They are mired in the middle of their league schedule and have to jump out of league to come play this game. Sometimes that can affect a team, especially a team like Grossmont that's hungry for a victory.
Well, first, let me say this about Grossmont. Congratulations to Megan Long on being the new athletic director. I haven't had a chance to say that personally myself, but congrats to Megan. And I know they got a new football coach. I know Coach Carlos stepped down. Not really sure the reasons, and don't really want to get into that tonight. But Poway has always looked like a good football team, and I know it's a rebuilding year for Grossmont. Uh, you know, that's a hard game to kind of decide. It is at Grossmont.
I kind of tricked you in telling you about that, Pow. Because obviously it's a non-league game, but they've already won 2 games. They're 2-0. They're like riding high, ready to fight
Sure.
for that league championship, and then you got to go play a decent program. I mean, a
Yeah,
Grossmont team that. But
Grossmont's always been a decent program, and you know they're going under a new athletic direction with the new football coach and new athletic director. I mean, it's always been Frank Fugiano for 14, 16
decades. Oh,
years.
sorry, Frank.
I mean, and Megan, I think Megan's going to do a good job, and she's enthusiastic and a go getter kind of person.
Dave,
Well,
we know Grossmont's off that bye. They lost to Mira Mesa. We talked about the Marauders earlier, and they lost to Mira Mesa 13-7. Only could get 1 touchdown against the Marauders. Like I said, the Marauders had that emotional backing of playing their first home game after the passing of Thompson. But I know that against the Mira Mesa defense, pretty good team, Mira Mesa, they're definitely showing out. But
but
Grossmont needed to do more in that game.
I think that the Achilles heel of the Pillars still, um, and going into this game too, is they haven't established the running game. They still have yet to establish the running game. We're too far into the season. And Coach Holmes, I know you have talented players on that team. I want to see Trenton Giles be able to have that chance to throw some play action passes, to roll out of the and throw a boot. It's been all on him. And if there's been any rushing yards, it's Giles running himself. And I just think there's been too much on Giles, unfortunately, and we still have yet. We've been waiting for another Robert Tucker to be or somebody similar to be born out of the backfield, and we have yet to see it. And I think that's really what's hurting Grossmont terribly, because they have a decent defense as well. It's just they don't have that running back. So it's pretty much. I'm sure the opposition watches the film and they go, okay, they're going to throw it, and they're going to throw it, and then they're going to throw it again. It makes it real tough on Giles for like I said, I don't know if he is still, but last time I looked, 2 weeks ago, he was the leading rusher still, along with the passer. So it's still the same thing. They have to get somebody that can punch that ball and at least gain 3 or 4 yards into a manageable third down, and then get some play action going, or even a long streak. You got to open up something, because otherwise a team like Poway, I think they will take advantage of that, and could be a long night.
You going with the Titans, Dave?
I really want Grossmont to hang a W. I really do, and I think they're deserving of it. But before I do say Poway and why, we've talked about it and beat it like a dead horse, Ramon, but that schedule that the Hillers have had to play thus far and still have to play is just completely brutal. Having to go up to Orange County, play Warren, they've had to do a lot of traveling. Something that Grossmont, as you mentioned, Granny Hills, Grossmont hasn't been doing for, oh my goodness, several years.
That's why I want to give them a chance here, because they're at home. They're probably showing more of a home road dichotomy than any other team in the East County. So that's why, and I just hearken back to that El Camino. Everybody, all the prep football people that like prep football, they're still kind of wondering how that happened on that day. So why not Grossmont? Why not here? Like I said, Poway, this is a non-league. It's a non-league game for both, but Grossmont, would like to taste victory again. They're going to be at home. And Andrew, before I'll let you know I'm going to pick Poway. If you want to pick Grossmont, that way you can really solidify beating us next week. Can I talk you into taking the Hillers for us?
Sure, I'll take Grossmont. Just because it's Grossmont. It's a home game, and it's like we say, any given Sunday, you never know which team. It's like Friday nights. You just don't know which team's gonna come out and play.
Well, Dave, you've talked about the game against Del Norte for Poway. It was last week. I believe that Poway was on the road. The final score was 28-14. Grossmont is similarly rated to Del Norte. In fact, they're both on the computer ranking have like a score, it's like 10. That's the number, the rating. They're both like 10. One's 10.1, one's 10.6, something like that. Whatever. They're both very close to 10. So you'd think that Poway should come in here and win it by 2 touchdowns, but I've got Poway winning in this one by a touchdown.
I'm going to say Poway I'm going to give Grossmont a chance, but by a field goal.
Okay, I hope Andrew wins that one. Okay, Dave, we'll talk one more game. Get out of here. It's late. Hopefully everybody's watching this on replay. It's almost the middle of the night here. Okay, Dave, this is a competitive game no matter how you look at it, because Tri-City Christian's coming in with a 1-5 record. Mountain Empire, they're hungry for victory at 2-3. Tri-City Christian, they beat O'Farrell last week. O'Farrell got back on the field, but Tri-City Christian beat them pretty handily last week for their first win of the season. Tri-City Christian, they're from the Coastal League. This is a non-league game, Dave.
I'll tell you what, Mountain Empire from start to finish, they're going to win this one, and I'll tell you why. They're overdue. I think that Larry Clark's going to have a big game on both sides of the ball. He had a decent game last game as well. I think it's going to be an even bigger game. He's going to get 250 yards rushing, and then he's also going to have at least 12 to 13 tackles, possibly even 2 sacks. And, we know that Larry Clark is the man. Still no Cordy Van. That's I think that would make a huge difference right now to have a guy back like him. Other than that, I think it's the Larry Clark show, and I'm going to take Mountain Empire as a whole. We have Coach Van and his team and Coach Ricky Prince. They are going to have it put together, and I'm going to take Mountain Empire by 21.
Wow, that is big, because right now in the power rating they're like tied. They have the same exact power rating, but I think because Mountain Empire is at home, I think they will win this game. But I will say this: Mountain Empire, they need to win. They need to get some victories like this to keep going in the direction they need to go for the playoff. But Tri-City Christian, right outside the bubble, they are in 13th place. Mountain Empire's in 10th place. Very close game. Give me Mountain Empire win this one by a field goal. All right, Andrew, thanks for joining us
Wait.
today. You don't have to make a pick on it. We can just go with Mountain Empire like we are. But just want to say thank you. And what else is going on? Anything we should know about?
Yeah, he was going to tell us about something about hoop, I think.
Oh yeah, we got a new basketball coach, Chris Johnson, came from RB Rancho Buena Vista. We had our first open gym, I believe, Monday, if I'm not mistaken. I really thought he did a good job. Just his first weekend, that I thought he got. It was a big turnout. We had 38 guys, which I don't think I've seen that in previous years. So I like where it's going. I'm hoping to get maybe the freshman job, help him out as much as I can. I mean, I'm always looking at my coach's options, but hoping to stick around and seeing what will happen.
We look forward to hearing from the Sultan girls this year, Dave.
Yeah, Mark Tippin.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
Mark Tippin was. I talked to him. They're going to be pretty decent as well. We got. I'm trying to remember our shooter's name. Help me out here, Dave.
I know who you're talking about now.
I don't, because with the Sultans, we really haven't been hearing from the Sultans over the
Hey,
last couple of years.
Was it Caleb?
As far as I've been concerned, I mean, I've been doing, just trying to pick up.
We're trying to pick up the pieces. We're trying
Yeah,
to pick
that's what I
up.
try to do when I cover the Sultans.
Yeah,
It's
we
not
are
like the glory
trying to
days.
pick up the pieces. I can picture the shooter in my head, and I can't remember her name.
Is it? I don't want to say it's not the exact last name, but Wahlberg.
Wolchko?
I know who he's talking.
Walsh goes.
That's why I can't say it.
Wasco was a senior. He graduated. I'm talking more on the girls' side. Who's the girls' shooter?
Oh, to be honest with you, I haven't heard since Jordan Franey had left, so I didn't get to see those games as often. But while he's thinking of that one, I just want there was another announcement, not Santana related, but hoop related. We also have an addition over at Steel Canyon. Had a quick meeting with him the other day while on campus. The new boys head coach, Aaron Douglas, taking over the Steel Canyon hoops over there, and pretty excited about
a new coach, huh?
Yep. So they're pretty excited about what they got going too.
Yeah, he's been there a year though, right? I mean,
all I know is the first time he had talked to me.
Okay, well, that's another team we really haven't heard, much from over the last couple of years. So hopefully we'll get to hear more from the. Cause it looks like they got It looks like they got some pretty good players this year. I really hope to hear from the Cougars.
And the last thing I heard, because I just talked to his mom recently today, and this is real quick, another sport, but everybody knows about him. Trevor Hazelhurst is over with the Aztecs now, one of their hurlers. So and he's doing well from what I understand. So that's really great news. I'm sure James Davis is definitely proud of that one.
Nice. I'll throw in mine, and then we'll get out of here. I ran a story late last week. Kyle Stowers, the Christian former Christian High Patriot, was the Baltimore Orioles minor league co-offensive player of the year. So I think he will be in the major leagues possibly by next season, maybe late in the season, maybe in the middle of the season. But you look at how the Orioles have kind of gotten a lot of nice hitters up to the major leagues right away. I mean, they're not a very good club, but they do have some nice hitters with like Austin Hayes and Ryan Mountcastle and Cedric Mullins. And I'd like to see Kyle Stowers join that team and be a major leaguer next year. Co-player of the year in the whole organization. That was pretty good.
Maybe
All
you could
right,
send him,
Dave. Yeah.
send him over here to San Diego, and that's a whole nother story.
Right. We're going to get out of here because otherwise I'll go off on another hour or two. But all I got to say, bring in Boach. Bring in the Boach. That's all you got to do. It's right there. It's right there in front of you. Coach Dave, I'll get out of here. Coach Quintero said it today on the air. He said, if the Padres don't have Bruce Bochy's phone number, I do. For Dave Dickens and Andrew Darrell, I'm Ramon Scott. Thank you for joining us.